Congratulations! The day has come. The major in Brazil that we have been long waiting for has begun. Only the best teams in the world and only the most devoted fans. The main question remains, will everything be technically perfect? And we will try to find the answer today. Besides that, KennyS returns to the pro scene and Cloud9 could possibly face replacements. Let's dive into the 2 weeks of amazing CSGO world. Let's get straight to it. Quick news to open today's video. Even during the major, there is a lot of stuff happening. For example, Nell, a well-known insider, unexpectedly announced that KennyS is returning to the pro scene. Unfortunately, this will not be a real French dream team, which we talked about earlier. But this option is also not a bad one. As Nell says, KennyS could join Falcons and play with NBK again. Can you sense the smell of nostalgia? Let's hope that this is exactly what will happen, because KennyS has already frankly been sitting around without a team for too long. Another important thing has been shared by Overdrive. According to his words, Cloud9 is assembling a youth lineup. Do you remember the times when Gambit were a youth team and they were destroying the entire tier 3 scene? And what would you know? Now they are playing at the major for Cloud9. I guess that something decent will come out of this new youth team. Or maybe someone will even be taken into the core squad later. And the last news piece is also from Overdrive.
Вероятность 90% на мажоре мы увидим Vertigo и от Фейзов, и от Нави.
It seems quite interesting. Press that like button if you are waiting for a Vertigo from Navi and FaZe. That would be much more fun if they have a match on Vertigo in the final of the major. Can you imagine? Friends, today I want to tell you about a decent website, csgo.net. Have you long considered updating your inventory? Now is the best time to act. Moreover, csgo.net launched a thematic Rio major operation with dozens of neat bonuses and a dedicated giveaway. Here you can find many cases of any taste, upgrades, contracts and absolutely everything you might need. What makes csgo.net so unique? It's pretty simple. They've been here for years, have their integrity system, a massive amount of users with reviews and proofs, and obviously a referral system. And I can't leave you without a generous bonus. Use my promo code LIVE to get an extra 40% for your deposit. Follow the link in the pinned comment and try it for yourself. Thank you for watching the ad. Let's roll back to CSGO. Here it is, the long-awaited, sensational, emotional, the largest in history, major in Rio de Janeiro. The most incredible audience and of course the best teams in the world. It's a major in Brazil. Let's get straight to it. Even before the start of the matches, it was clear that the atmosphere would be overwhelming. A whole crowd of fans all over the city, at the stadium, behind the stadium, in the front of stadium. In general, everywhere. And everyone is ready to be hooked up on immersing themselves in the largest tournament of the year for 2 weeks straight. Today we have 16 matches, it's nothing new, a usual thing for the first day at the major. That's it, enough talking, it's time to watch the game. The honor of opening the first major in Brazil was given to GamerLegion and 9Z. The latter has one Brazilian player in the squad, so you clearly understand who will be supported more by the stadium. But in fact, the meeting itself turned out to be a complete boredom and uneventful as possible. From the very first round, GamerLegion were able to enter the plants without any problems and took one round after another. Even the stadium didn't affect them much here. Well, actually, how could it affect them in general if after each 9Z's lost, comes a deathly silence. But when they won the first round, the carnival has arrived to the stadium.
Again toward the top side of Banana, but it's Max to at least get one back this time. Tries to beat the smoke, he can't do it, but does decent damage onto Sui, and he body blocked the smoke in turn, so he spotted him going to the side, he'll drop him, and now we might have a round for 9Z.
There we go. They needed it. They needed it. Oh, Isaac didn't spot that between the gap and the smoke. Boost it up. DJT's got it. And 9Z's on the board.
And channel that. Listen to the crowd and use it, because we saw that they looked pretty dejected when they lost that 8th round.
However, it did not influence the game in any way, as if only on the contrary, it has provoked GamerLegion even more. They brought the score not just to a crushing one, but rather to a humiliating one. 14-1 in the first half. The audience was prompting the guys as much as possible by directing them to smokes. They would even start shouting if there was someone there. Fans came up with all sorts of chants and songs. However, it was clear that GamerLegion's level was unreachable. They did not feel any pressure and closed the opponent with a score of 16-6 without even a chance. Man, this stadium is straight up fire.
Alright, 2 in a row. Not the most concise way of doing it, but they do it either way. So now, let's see if they can keep building. This fans, this crowd really, I don't know, energized for the day. I mean, even if they can't make this comeback possible, Jason, I think as is...
Let's now get to discussing what was happening there at the same moment in the Virtus.pro versus Mouz match. Unfortunately, they had to play without a show-demanding audience, and probably this is a huge advantage for youngsters from Mouz. Their first ever big tournament of such level, and they get a chance to play in silence without additional stress. Mouz very easily controlled any exit and completely controlled the course of the game. They succeeded at retakes, shot Virtus.pro's heads pretty well, and in general their defense was decent. With great difficulty, the outsiders brought the match to 6-9. However, the guys from Mouz had their own game plan. Perfectly executed pistol round allowed them to breach the defense on A plant and win the round. This immediately gave Mouz a double advantage, and with it, it wasn't really hard for them to finish successfully. On the other hand, Virtus.pro was completely toothless. There's not even much to show. 16-6. They were destroyed without a single chance. Next up, we have OG versus Grayhound. I wouldn't even mention this one. I would just simply show you the score, but there was one issue I would like to highlight. OG were easily leading with a score of 4-0, and their plan was to finish the opponent with a score of 16-0, but suddenly Dexter froze during a retake. And that's it. He couldn't do anything. And it's the major. ESL staff did everything they could. They tried changing computers, even monitors, but everything went so bad, Dexter was even allowed to take his phone.
Ребятки, вещаю из лайва, как вам? Мне поменяли 3 компа, мне поменяли 2 монитора, мне поменяли 3 кабеля, меня заставили, попросили поменять конфиг на предыдущий, и все равно у меня крашится комп. Наслаждайтесь. Задержки.
In general, everyone waited for an hour, and everything resulted in OG destroying their rival in 10 minutes. 16-5 was the score, just as they planned, just as my pick'em, where Grayhound stand with 0-3. Meanwhile, another Brazilian team was playing. coldzera had to ruin Bad News Eagles in front of his audience, and as we can see, the fans were ready to give their lives for them. We condemned this behavior within the community. Guys, no words needed. Just listen how the whole stadium was leading 0-0 Nation to victory.
Look at the HP, this is done. Double Nation gonna tie it immediately.
They absolutely will. Another kill for coldzera to close out the round, and Double O Nation steal round 2. That's a round of utility. A very simple, easy hit to gain space.
But also, as in the case with 9Z, it was absolutely helpless in any way. The fans were loudly supporting them, but coldzera and his team were giving away all the rounds in attack. Just look at how the audience supports their team. I bet you can hear everything yourself. I have absolutely nothing to tell you about the match itself. 0-0 Nation carried out a super weak attack, and the Eagles, on the contrary, showed a good shooting skills, defense tactics, and they were good at providing coverage and retakes. That was straight up mess. 16-3. Listen to how happy the stadium was with the victory of the Eagles.
Bad News Eagles coming into this, you're showing we have no fear. We have all the confidence.
Well, at least they don't howl, which is good. Let's move on. Maybe at least Furia would be able to bring joy to their fans. And Syrson is telling that he has a different plan. Immediately in the pistol round, he enters plant like a boss and ruins all the support players. 4 down in the first round. Yeah, quite a start for the Brazilians. But wait. Don't bury them just yet. Here comes Yuri that will carry the clutch so that stadium will roar. Spoiler alert.
Yuri that wants it next, and he's going to have a tough time, but Tabson 10 HP. Yuri on 43, he's going to spot him, he's going to clutch it, and Furia's on the board.
Big clutch early for Yuri. One of the big boy.
It's on. As soon as Furia took the first round, the magic of the Brazilian major did its thing. The fans got up at every frag from Furia. I really want to show you every moment so that you can feel this energy. It's just unbelievable. But then this happened.
There was other CTs, and they give him something easy to shoot at. Not done yet though, Queserado. They're both already, but he's hoping they'll give him one-on-ones. He wide peeks to the first, knows that's going to bait Sin out to the left side, expecting that he'd have more to fire at. Advantage as he looks to push Kito back.
Oh my Lord.
1 versus 3 clutch in a pistol round. Here, even the fans were waving their hands, showing that this was the end. GG's. The score was 13-3. Well, there couldn't be no other way, in fact. However, at that moment, the Brazilian magic disappeared. I simply don't know how is this possible. But BIG were making incredible comebacks, and for some reason, the stadium kept complete silence. It's 15-14 and BIG are doing something amazing here. They came back from a score of 3-13, and now listen how the audience reacts.
And it was 8 in a row to bring us to overtime. We're off to a break, and we'll be right back.
From the score of 8-15, they gave only 1 round away, and it was already only during the overtime. What they did was worthy of applause, though of course they didn't get it from the audience. Every medal has 2 sides. It seems that the audience is certainly full of energy, but you obviously know which side it is directed in. Then, supposedly a super boring match of EG versus IHC. And you can imagine how surprised I was when I saw the Mongolian team pull 7-0 in attack on Nuke. But honestly, their happiness didn't last long. As soon as Cirque solely won 1 round in defense, EG immediately made a comeback. After their initial success in attack, IHS were able to take only 2 rounds further. In fact, the match turned out to be a one-sided game in both directions. 16-9 and 0-1. So, after a little break, here's another clash of the year. Vitality versus Imperial. And if you thought that people were going insane for the Brazilians before, you haven't heard how they were greeting Fallen. But we'll come back to this later. In the meantime, Apex decided to go straight down a very slippery slope. Vitality, without any difficulties, took the first 3 rounds, and he's already provoking the Brazilians. What a fearless guy he is. Vitality lead 8-0, everything seems to be under control. And here's where we finally get the juiciest moment. The first round performed by Imperial. At one point, Imperial were failing with a score of 2-14, but still, as they say, at home even the walls can help. They took the first one in defense, then another one, charged up well and went forward. When they won the third or the fourth round in a row, I thought a fire would start there. It was extremely hot. At such moments, only one person can save the whole situation. The Chosen One. I think if it wasn't for Zaivu, Imperial could really have made a comeback, because it turns out that even such an experienced team as Vitality can lose focus under wild pressure. That's it, Brazil. This is Monsieur Zaivu. Please, love and cheer. They just simply can't break this guy. He pulls a very beautiful clutch and finishes this battle. It was very hot, but Vitality coped. The Brazilian teams, unfortunately, have not yet been able to give the fans a single victory, which is not a very good start for the tournament. Although it all started more or less as expected. On 0-1, Outsiders and AHC met. In fact, the Mongolian team showed a decent game and was ahead at one point. After not the most successful attack, they carried out a good pistol and forced by rounds. At that second, it seemed that Virtus.pro could be sent to 0-2 because IHC happened to show good defense. But then they were knocked down by Fame, who was a low tabber the whole game, and joined at the most important moment to make an ace.
Oi. 15 seconds, they come right through.
Got his one.
At least catches the one, yep, and Annihilation chops off the short play, but Fame, he's got both of those initial B defenders. 10 seconds on the clock, blitz into the water, but Fame's got himself a third and a fourth. Every kill in the round so far for Outsiders. Again, they will slip through. And for it to be the new gun, that's big. An ace for Fame inside the B site when Outsiders come in with everything they could buy.
So it remained only to close things up, which Virtus.pro confidently managed to do. IHS looked decent, but unfortunately the competition at the major is wild and any mistake can cost a lot. Let's continue. The next one is Furia against 00 Nation, the Brazilian derby. And how should the audience pick the team to root for? That's a difficult question for the Brazilian fans. In fact, CLOUD9's team had very few chances. Just look at how easily they give away 4 versus 2. Well, at the major you simply can't fail in such moments. Plus, Kiserato just went off. He ran around the map and gave away headshots to everyone without even aiming. That's some simply unreal level. He finished the half with a score of 20-8 and his team closed the half 11-4. Whatever people can say, Furia are way stronger here, both in aiming skills and in the tactics and strategies. 16-6, so our old pal CLOUD9 goes to 0-2. Let's move on. We have 6 more matches ahead. EG versus Mouz. Judging by how Mouz looked against Virtus.pro, Evil Geniuses didn't have a lot of chances. Besides, they didn't have a good start, to put it mildly. Mouz quickly went to ruin everyone in the attack, but EG had to blame only themselves, giving away a few rounds of the majority too easily. It's quite a flop to give 4 versus 2 times in a row. The first half ended in 11-4 and the situation seemed to be very bad. Fortunately for Evil Geniuses, they have a major champion in their team. He's already been there, done that. He also made a comeback in the final from a dead score.
Into this position just yet, he's considering it. Torji, the mind on him, but a massive shot from Automatic.
That was against an AWP. He just takes the duel, wins it out one-on-one. Just a duel. Automatic, looking for 4, and he pulls EG into an 8th. The only major champion.
At some point, EG managed to almost catch up, but Mouz, without any problems, closed several exits in a row and did not give away a single round at the end of the map. 16-10, Mouz are happily going 2-0, and I think that's quite cool. We have another BIG versus Bad News Eagles battle ahead of us. And I still don't understand how is it possible to pick Dust 2 in a best of 1 match against BIG. There are 6 other maps, and they still got Dust 2 against Dobson. And at first, it looked like Bad News Eagles would be punished for it. Their exits weren't really working. It was impossible to break down the defense of the Germans. However, let's not rush. I underestimated the Bad News Eagles defense too much. As soon as they went full on defense mode, everything immediately fell into place. These guys definitely don't have any problems with aiming. Great backups, retakes, everything works. And the rounds were won one after another. 16-11, 12 rounds in a row from Bad News Eagles. The guys are good indeed, what else can I say? BIG are sent to 1-1. Vitality and GamerLegion were the other guys who claimed to have 2-0. Before the start of the major, Acor said that they were preparing in a full-on hard mode, and they might as well surprise us. It was pretty hard to believe in Acor's words at first, since ZywOo did everything at the beginning of the game to beat his opponent. But when the score went 6-0, ZywOo stopped making an impact in the game, while the situation in GamerLegion, on the contrary, was the opposite. Acor and CUHE began to play much more successfully, constantly finding entry frags. After that, GamerLegion took 9 rounds in a row, winning the first half, and they successfully continued their trend in the second half, beating Vitality with a score of 16-10. Meanwhile, Imperial and Nines competed for 1-1. The beginning of the game turned out to be disastrous for Imperial. Their players almost every round unsuccessfully tried to reach Plant A, and they were easily killed by 9Z players there. As a result, the first half ended with a score of 13-2. When the sides changed, Fallen decided to please his fans a little by making 5 frags in the pistol round.
It's Fallen, who can and does draw first blood. 2 with the pistols akimbo. Blitzer down the middle, 3 on the door. 4 out of Fallen. Up for the ace in the home crowd of Rio de Janeiro. And there it is! Fallen all 5 on the must-win pistol. And the crowd loves it.
That's one way to get them on the feet right there.
Thanks to this, Imperial players managed to make a small comeback, but no miracle happened. They took too few rounds in the first half, which is why they lost the game with a score of 16-11. Moving on to the OG versus Fnatic match. These two teams are quite equal judging by their current shape, and the score in the first half proves this, 8-7. And in the second half everything was close. At some point one of them comes forward, then the other one does, and everything was finally decided in the clutch moments. Well, when you have Crims, you can always count on a couple of wins by solo clutches. Thus, Fnatic wins over EG with a score of 16-13, and that win makes them one step away from the next stage of the major. And the last battle was Cloud9 versus Grayhound. Many attack rounds for Grayhound ended before they really started. This team with great difficulties were able to take 5 rounds during the attack side. Starting with the pistol round, Cloud9 began to play much worse. An uncertain game, a lot of close situations lost. All this led to Grayhound being the first to enter round number 15, and Cloud9 had to sweat a lot to move the game to overtime. And can you guess what happened next? It's simple, we've already seen that. Shiro was frozen at the most important moment. He was trying to enter Plant A, he is the last support and stands still with the knife. Because of this, Cloud9 loses an important round and subsequently the whole game. Yeah guys, that's pretty jaw-dropping. Indeed, Cloud9 has to only blame themselves, but it's not that fair, you know? Here's a schedule for today. Write down what do you think about it. Let's continue watching the major, and all the most interesting things are only ahead. See you soon.